turn to the final talk of this module, which is what to expect in a clinical trial, since these are where the new ideas for how to improve upon current existing standard of care are all brought forward. Corey Hewitt, who's co-lead of our protocol office, will discuss this, and take it away, Corey.
All righty, let me pull up my PowerPoint. Okay, so what to expect on a clinical trial. Like I said, my manager normally does this talk, but she was unable to be here today. So at Hillman, in addition to the standard of care treatments that we have, we also offer a variety of clinical trials. So what is a clinical trial? Clinical trials are research studies performed on humans to evaluate new medical techniques. Clinical trials are used to find safety, tolerability, and optimal dose of new drugs and combinations of previously approved medications. So what are the goals of clinical trials? To develop more effective treatments than the standard of care, improve side effects for safer and more tolerable treatments. And then the ultimate goal of the clinical trials are to receive FDA approval. This can take a long time, 15 to 20 years, usually. So what are the parts of the clinical trial? So the first part is the informed consent. So if your physician believes that a clinical trial would best suit you, they would discuss the clinical trial and we would go over the informed consent. Once you consent to the clinical trial, if it's something that you would like to pursue, you will go into a screening process where we just need to make sure that you are eligible and healthy enough to go on. Once you're on the study, we consider this active treatment. And after the treatment is completed, then you will go into the follow-up portion. So what is informed consent? So this is an ongoing process. It's to educate the participants on the treatment, logistics of the trial, the risks and benefits of the trial participation, and then any financial responsibility that the participant may have. So after reviewing consent, the participant and the physician will sign and date the consent document. And this is just giving us, obviously, consent to start the screening process and get you rolling on the clinical trial. So what is the screening process? It can take anywhere from 2 weeks to 28 days. All potential participants must meet all inclusion criteria and none of the exclusion criteria. This is different for every clinical trial, and it includes testing such as CT scans, a physical exam, lab work, and this is to ensure the safety of the participant. We'll also review your past medical history and any current medications. And the test results are reviewed by the clinical research coordinator, so myself and the physician, to ensure your eligibility. So once you're deemed eligible, once eligibility is confirmed, the participant may start the treatment. So the protocol kind of mandates what will occur at each treatment visit. So each visit typically includes lab work, a physical exam, the treatment itself, and also research labs. So the CRC, who will oversee you throughout the trial, will discuss any side effects you may be experiencing or any new medications you have taken. So some possible clinical trial events. So these would be in addition to what you would be doing standard of care. So we could be doing research blood draws, additional biopsies. So most of our clinical trials do require at least a pre-treatment biopsy, and a lot of them require biopsies when you're on the study. EKGs, we do a lot of questionnaires. So we call them quality of life questionnaires, and they just want you to say, how are you feeling? Are you having any side effects? Stuff like that. And then also specimen samples. So once you are finished with the active part of the clinical trial, you will go to the follow-up portion. So the safety follow-up visit usually occurs about 30 days after the last dose of the drug. And this might include scans, lab work, and a physical exam. We just want to make sure that you're not having any additional side effects and, obtain additional lab work. Then you'll have long-term follow-up visits, which usually occur every 3 to 6 months, just depending on the clinical trial. And it may include CT scans, lab work, and physical exams. And then we also have the survival follow-up portion, which usually occurs every 3 months. And this can typically be a phone call or just review of medical records. So what are the benefits of participating in a clinical trial? So you'll have access to novel treatment approaches. You'll also have a close monitoring clinical research team. So I always tell patients you'll have a lot of support surrounding this. So you'll always have my contact information or my colleagues' contact information, and we oversee you throughout the entire clinical trial. So you have kind of that extra set of eyes on you. Treatments may be free or low cost, and then you're also contributing to research that may save lives in the future. So there are some risks of participating in a clinical trial. Obviously, a lot of these drugs are not FDA approved yet. So there are some potential side effects that are possibly unknown. You'll also have more frequent tests or doctor's visits. So a lot of times with these clinical trials, there's additional visits that you would need, not just the treatment days. So it is more of a time commitment. The new treatments might not work, and some insurances may not cover all costs. Here's a nice picture of some of our team members. It's a little bit outdated, but you can see Darcy and Dr. DeVar there, and some of our research coordinators. So the team members, so you'll have your clinical team, which will be your physicians, physician assistants, and the collaborative practice nurse. Then you'll have your clinical research manager, who is Amy Rose. You'll have your clinical research coordinator, so you'll be assigned to a coordinator, so myself or one of my colleagues. And we have research assistants and then also regulatory specialists. So you have a lot of support, which is nice. So the melanoma clinical trial is available at Hillman. These are always changing. There's always new ones. So one of the blood and tissue banking studies that's been around for a long time is 9699. We try and get all of our new patients on this study. We have adjuvant treatments. We have neoadjuvant treatments. We have frontline treatment of advanced disease, targeted therapy of advanced disease, and then treatments for refractory disease. So because of clinical trials, we have had the FDA approval of all of these now standard of care treatments. So I'm sure most of you are familiar with these. So interferon, IL-2, Ipi, Pembro, Nivo, T-VEC, or the Ipi-Nivo combination. And then we have our targeted therapies, which is vemurafenib, dabrafenib, trametinib, and then you could have combinations of those. So thank you, everyone. And hopefully that was informative. If you guys have any questions, just let me know.